This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. And of course, I'm your host, the Report of the Week. And this program, VORW, is my voice, the voice of the Report of the Week. And in this program, ranging in a time anywhere between, 1 hour and 3 hours or so, you'll hear all about this channel and the issues surrounding it and any other issues and things I prefer to share in this program. So, if you will, sit back, relax, and, enjoy another VOIW. So, it's Thursday. Thursday, the 25th of February. 2016, of course. No other year than that it is. Right now in the present, 2016. And here we are. We're producing another show for us all to listen to and perhaps enjoy or rest to. Doesn't matter what you do with it, but we're making it anyways. So we hope, hope you're doing well today. It's Thursday at least. Means the week is coming to a close. That's always a good thing, Another week down. Another weekend ahead of us soon. Friday's just around the corner. And Fridays usually are always pretty easy days for most, at least when you get home Friday, you can kick back, can sleep, can stay up if you wish. You always got Saturday, after that, just, the rest day for the most part. Sunday too, but Saturday always seems more like a real rest day to me. Anyways, that's what we got. Me, how am I doing? I'm doing pretty good today. A little tired, but I figure, we'll record the VORW anyways. But first, I need some fuel. I need some water. Now I'm looking for where the glass is. Where is it exactly? Here it is. And we're going to get ourselves a glass of ice water. Fill it up just like the old days back in 2014 when I always would. Let's get this glass filled. "1:34 a.m. the time is. Okay, filled it with some water right there, and we'll get some ice cubes too. Get 2 of them. Let's see, 1 and 2. 1, 2. And there they are. And 2 ice cubes. Perfect number for a glass of water. So we got a lot to talk about in this program. First and foremost, the real reason is the last program that we recorded. Now let's see here. Okay. Let's see this. The last VORW show that we did, and we're talking YouTube VORW, not the shortwave one, was February 13th, 2016. That's, getting close to 2 weeks. And before that, because I had a bad head cold, before that is January 30th. So I haven't really had the chance to record a lot of VORW shows, but, we're gonna be making the, we're going to be making this one longer. We're going to have more to talk about, of course. And that said, expect a longer show. I don't know how long this is really going to be. I can't offer any sort of, approximations or assumptions to that matter at this point. It could be. But if I had to take a rough guess, folks, I'd say, it's probably in the range. It'll probably be between, if I had to guess, 2 and 3 hours. Because this show as a matter of fact, okay, actually does feature some segments, some different segments that I already recorded. This program, of course, it's going to feature my talk at the beginning, which I think will be a little longer than usual. I don't know how long it's going to range for, if it'll be 30 minutes, an hour. I'll talk as long as I need to talk. I don't time myself. Then a few days ago, I took a night walk, and I actually recorded. It was warm enough to go out, believe it or not. Temperature warmed up a bit. It's been real fluctuating with the weather. We'll actually get to that soon. But, I took a night walk, and I did a recording of it. I know people like when I do the night walks. And I kind of got into a little bit of a philosophical lecture, and a motivational speech, if you will, about time and getting things done. And that's 36 minutes in length, I think. So right there, it's already a 36-minute show. Tack that onto a normal show, especially a longer one, could easily get a 2.5-hour program right here. But as I say, we'll take it as long as we need to take it, and that's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. No time limits or constraints, so we'll just run the tapes as long as we need to. No problems there, no protests, no complaints at all. I can't complain. I don't mind doing these shows. Anyways, here we are. So things have been busy with the channel as of late. As you know, last week we had the VORW show on the Shortwave radio, which was that was a big event. And we'll have, when we go chronologically about the channel in a little bit, later on in the program, like we always do, it seems, where we talk about things going on in the channel that have elapsed, since the last VORW. We'll get to all that stuff. But before then, we're just going to talk about any miscellaneous things that I feel like talking about non-channel related. The weather, it's been fluctuating a lot lately. It has, gosh. Just today, in the 30s in the afternoon, it was pouring rain, 30s. And, got caught in a torrential downpour. It's fun. But cold rain. Now it's 1:30 a.m., almost 2 a.m., and it's 60 degrees outside. A 30-degree temperature increase from what's supposed to be the heat of the day, 3 p.m., to night, when usually it's supposed to be the opposite. Not such a drop, but, a 10, 20-degree temperature drop from day to night. But here, wow. Actually rose 30 degrees. Figure, even with the cooling of the night, had to have been a really strong warm front that came through. The warm front came through this evening. Some strong thunderstorms with it. Real dark red on the radar. I was listening to the NOAA weather radio. They don't QSL, by the way, so don't even bother. But I was listening to the National Weather Radio, and they were saying, that these storms will be producing, hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds, and that harks me back to the days of, 2009 or so. I think it was 2009. Back then. When in 1 year, we lost 2 trees due to storms. Thinking back to 2009, it was around November thereof. I think it was. either October or November. I couldn't pinpoint the date. It wasn't something that important to me. But it's something that's stuck in my memory. I remember it was a windy day, of course. We all know when a tree falls, it's to be windy. And, it was a windy day. Nothing special about it. I mean, it gets windy from time to time, of course. I remember that day, heck, how long ago was this now? 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 13, 13 to 14, 15. So, 6 years, getting to 7 now. 7 years, getting close. Whew. Wow. But anyways, I remember at that time, I was already, dressing well. I remember on that day, for whatever reason, I don't know why I remember this, but I was wearing a new vest and tie set. It was I forget the name of it. It was a black pinstripe vest and tie set. I wore that thing till it didn't fit me anymore. It was a great set. Back from an era where you're not gonna find that crap in a mainstream store anymore. I'll tell you that. But I remember wearing that. I remember liking it. And that evening went to I think it was Chili's. Yeah, Chili's. That brings me to another topic we'll talk about after this. We're just telling random stories here. It's story time at night, I guess. And went back. Nothing special. It was just a standard evening back in the day. Used to be a bit more extroverted than I am now. Sitting there, and the storm got bad. It was windy all day. The winds picked up more at night. And before then, I mean, there were storms, but never anything that had knocked a tree down. But then, don't you think, there was one gust. I remember I was upstairs, and there was one gust of wind that was particularly stronger than the rest. As a matter of fact, I thought it was going to blow the windows in. It was that strong. You hear just pounding against the glass. And it almost felt, almost like this popping sound, as though it was going to almost smash the windows in by the sheer force of the gust. And with that, I heard a creaking sound. Something, kind of, not quite similar, but, to an old wooden floor moving, or an old wooden door moving. It's this creaking sound, and then a big bang, boom, Oh, boy. Looked out, tree fell right towards the house. It didn't hit the house entirely. It clipped one of the corners of it and took a little piece off the roof and everything. It was great. But it hit the back deck and, utterly destroyed portions of it. Oh, joy. That was taken care of. Money down drain because of that. Then another tree that fell in the same year. No, this was actually 2010, the next year. Summertime of 2010, another strong supercell knocked down a tree in the yard. It didn't hit anything, so it wasn't as memorable, but it was more money down the tubes. Believe it or not, in 2012, when Hurricane Sandy hit, I'm sure many of us remember that. It knocked out power, devastated the region, but there was nothing more than a few branches down. And I guess we got lucky, because all the weaker trees were already kind of taken down by other storms, and the stronger ones, at least if the stronger roots are in more perhaps better locations, made it. So that's what happened. For the heck of it, because I mentioned it, we'll bring up Chili's and all those restaurants. Back in the day, I used to be more extroverted than I am now. That's just how it was. But it used to be a tradition of mine, believe it or not, Take it as you will. But it used to be a tradition of mine where every Saturday I would go out to dinner. It's a nice tradition, right? You know, go out with the folks to a dinner. You know, get to catch up, get a free meal. Hey, what's there to lose exactly? You know, you might say even if you don't like talking to these people, you're sitting there and you get a free meal. Come on, man. What's wrong with that? You get to feed your face for free. That's a privilege right there. You know, not having to break the bank to get what you need or want. So take it. It's a golden opportunity. But I don't. I don't intend to. And I haven't for about 3 years now. And I mean just how it is. You know, we used to go to restaurants like Chili's, Applebee's, you know, Charlie Brown's perhaps. Local pizza place here and there. Sometimes TGI Fridays, you know, those types of sit-down places. And this is back when they had good food, too. I know a lot of them have gone down the drain, just like everything else has, so it seems, in recent years. Applebee's, though, from my recollections, it's been a couple years since I've gone there, though, but from my recollections, Applebee's used to have good food. They used to have good wings, boneless or otherwise. And they used to have good burgers, but it's been years. I don't know if they changed the recipe. I mean, even 3 years ago, a lot of places that I say are horrible now were better. KFC, McDonald's, all the fast food places were much better. It's been a very quick degradation in quality lately in the food industry. You know. But I used to always go to these places. I always used to, you know, to go to these establishments and sit down, have a wholesome dinner. But I stopped that in 2013 when I opened my eyes. See, back then, I wouldn't really... I was unaware of myself. They call it self-awareness. You know, where you just... And sometimes that's, you know, it's a blissful ignorance, I'll say that. It can be a great thing or an awful thing. It depends on how you look at it. But having no self-awareness can, as I say, be a blissful ignorance in a sense. In that, when you are unaware of yourself and how people may see you, especially strangers, how people might be seeing you as, it gives you almost a type of, you know, in a very limited sense, but still, in a sense nonetheless, gives you a type of uninhibited freedom. You feel, you know, as though I can, mostly in terms of how you act or how you look, I can do this and I'm just fine, just what I want to do and I'm going to do it. And it gives you that sense of uninhibited freedom, as I said, and that makes you feel like you can do it. You're not aware of how people see you, so big deal, right? But in 2013, I opened my eyes. Began looking around at these places where I would be sitting, and I felt as though I had a bleeping spotlight shining right on me by the amount of people I saw looking at me. I didn't like that. I still don't. I don't like being, you know, unless it's in a lecture setting. While I'm just sitting there trying to enjoy a meal. I don't like having pairs and pairs of eyes looking at me. I'm trying to eat my meal. I'm not a spectacle. I'm not a circus performer or a car accident. You know? What am I to be looked at? I didn't like that. And with the anxiety that I have, that just made it worse. It just made me uncomfortable, and I couldn't do it anymore, and I didn't want to do it. I said, forget it. So, it's been like that since. And, you know, you may be saying to yourself, alright, I get, you know, why you don't go out for these dinners anymore. I get it doesn't make you feel comfortable. Fine. But there's one thing, dear lecturer, that doesn't add up to me. Okay, so What doesn't add up? Well, you talked about self-awareness, right? You talked about self-awareness almost in a type of negative light, as saying, that if you're not aware of yourself, it's almost a blissful ignorance. You talk about it, though, as though you did something about it. Yet I see how you dress every day. You certainly haven't changed at all from then until now, so what gives? It's a good question. And let's talk about that right now, as a matter of fact. The whole deal of self-awareness is really opening your eyes and seeing how other people see you. Looking at yourself from the eyes of another. And 2013 is a big year, and it made me see that. But with that being said, you have to realize at the same point, oftentimes being self-aware illustrates the illusion that means you gotta change yourself now. That just because I see now how these people see me, and perhaps I don't like how they see me, that means I gotta change. That means, I gotta just throw all the suits out. I gotta buy some skinny jeans and a tight-fitting t-shirt. I gotta, just go to the barber tomorrow, get all my, get my hairstyle redone, tell him to just shave the sides and get that stupid shaved part in on the top and, comb the top back and, give myself some sort of growth medication and try to get a beard going and, voila, now I become, whatever you want to call it, I guess hipster god of 2016. And then, of course, people look at you differently. But here I am, still, standing at this, I'm pacing around. Wearing a hairstyle that hasn't really been popular on, someone, really under the age of, probably this exact hairstyle, the Bro Cream, and all probably under the age of, probably 50 in several decades. Starting to come back now, but in different varieties. So an outdated hairstyle, I'm wearing clothing outdated by about 30 years. I clearly don't fit into what's considered normal in the world. Yet I still do what I do. And here's what I'm getting at. That just because being self-aware lets you see what others think of you, does not mean that you have to listen to what they may be saying or thinking. But you need to conform to what they're seeing in you. Because you don't. Just because, not every circumstance, of course. There's many circumstances where you should. But there's some, especially in these, where just because you see something or just because you hear something doesn't mean that you should do anything about it if you don't want to. Case in point, what happened with me in 2013. Before that, I was blissfully unaware of how the people saw me. Then I realized in 2013, thanks to how the influx of comments, blah, 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 all that good stuff of the Pan Pizza review, I got to see the perception of how people saw me. And from that, I was able to deduce the fact that I was really being used as a, just as a, the humble, right, the humble internet comedian's slam piece, if you will. Something that someone and their friends can just laugh at when they got nothing better to do. And that was in 2013, of course. But that's just how it was. And I saw that, I was being really made fun of and mocked and scoffed at. simply for being, who I am. If you want to pull it's, let's not go into that territory. That's playing with some real fire right there. But anyways, I just got to really see how I was seen. And some people would change themselves. They'd see, my God, look at all this ridicule, this criticism, I'm being laughed at. I don't want that. I'm going to change something. But I said, and after, it was a difficult pill to swallow, of course. But after I ended up swallowing it, realizing it, I shrugged it off. I said, yeah, they see me as they do. So be it. So be it. I'll make a few changes here and there in terms of going out. For personal comfort, but I'm not going to change who I am as a result of that. I like how I am now, and that's how things are going to stay. That's how things have stayed. Like how I am now. I don't want to change anything about myself, nor will I. Doesn't matter what people say, or what they think, or what they do. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to change who I am because of that. As I say, I always stand true to myself and what I believe in. And that's all there is to it. This is VORW, the voice of the report of the week, 26 minutes in. But that's all there is to it. I know in the last show I was talking about my health. As you can probably hear, I'm doing a bit better. I'm doing a bit better. So that's good. Nose still isn't perfect. You may hear me to get the tissue here and there, Sometimes it'll run a little bit, but it's not horrible. Rather disconcerting, but not horrible. Blow the nose, and every time you blow the nose, just straight up blood comes out. That's fun. The other day, got in. Went to blow my nose, and I blew it, and it was literally just hemorrhaging blood. Like a bloody nose, but it wasn't a bloody nose. It was just what I was blowing out. It was crazy the amount that was coming out. Just sheer red blood mixed with some yellow mucus from time to time, but so be it. Anything else to talk about, folks? Anything else? Or are we going to go over to the channel next, and then we'll talk about the then we'll do the night walk, and then we'll move over to the letters section. 2 a.m. Let's talk about the channel then. First off, in VORW world, we got the Shortwave broadcast. We got the Shortwave broadcast on the air last week. Got it on the air last week, celebrating 5 years of the channel. And it went smoothly and very successfully. The broadcast just went great. I mean, it was a great broadcast. Spanned the whole North American continent and even made its way into Europe. We had the WBCQ transmitter, which was beamed westward. So I was kind of in Monticello, Maine. And it was just beaming westward through New England, through the Mid-Atlantic. And actually, it went even further than I anticipated. It went into the Midwest, and it, just blasted across the heartland. And there were a lot of people tuned into WBCQ broadcast. Got plenty of reports from Michigan, Wisconsin, Ohio, the Carolinas, reports from New York, Connecticut, and many online listeners as well. And then later in the evening, we had the WRMI broadcast out of Miami, or Okeechobee, Florida. Their office, I think, is in Miami, or at least originally was, but their transmitting station is in Okeechobee, Florida, with, I believe, 13 or 14 100 kilowatt transmitters. It's a massive station, even bigger than some of the, the big stations that the BBC or the Voice for America owns. This is a massive station, the biggest, I think, in North America, if not in the Western, not in the Western Hemisphere, but it's a big one. Definitely the biggest in North America, I think. But that broadcast on 7570, 100 kilowatt transmitter, blasted across North America, was heard again and everywhere from Maine to Michigan to Virginia. Several listeners in Texas, believe it or not. We actually have a listener. Let's get the little thing up for the heck of it. Why not? Who actually submitted a recording to me in Texas of just how good the broadcast came in those parts of the country. Let's check the VORW email address. Let's see. Let's get to it. Yeah, I think he made a... let's see this here. Yeah, here's a video of how it came in Texas.
Why is it weekly? Why is it celebrating 5 years? What's the big deal? And those are great questions. And for those of you who are familiar with what the report of the week is, well, you might be getting some new information about the history, some of the facts you may not know before. And hope you all be able to stick with us and enjoy, and be able to stay tuned. So, first and foremost,
so that was off of the shortwave radio of a listener in Texas. Said it was heard loud and clear with only some slight propagation issues, which is fading, but otherwise, good signal over there. Let's see, what's this guy? What is this guy saying? I'm sorry, I just saw a new comment up. To each his own. So we got that, a listener in Texas, but the most amazing reports were actually those from Europe. Because while this broadcast on 7570 targeted North America, it actually apparently propagated across the Atlantic into Europe as well. Got two confirmed reports from the UK. I guess it skipped over the Atlantic Ocean, kind of made it into the UK. Since that's the first landmass in Europe. But here's the real one. Here's the real extreme one, if you will. Believe it or not, this person says they're actually located in Greece, and they heard the VORW broadcast on shortwave. And I think they're actually shortwave listeners in Greece that are able to receive the VORW program, on the shortwave. You can say, yeah, well, maybe he's just, BSing. But he actually gave me a recording of it, too, and I don't know how much I'll be able to play. He said it was, weaker, but it was listenable, especially when I played music. So he recorded some of the song I played, The Sound of Sunshine, here. You'll be able to hear it for sure a little bit. I wish I could play more, but YouTube is gonna, they can discern that it's the Sound of Sunshine by Michael Franti and Spearhead throughout the static. They're gonna get me for that one. But anyways, he submitted a nice recording of it, and, got his verification. So hey, it was a great success, a massive success, and believe it or not, VORW might be getting back on the air sooner than you think. Alright, especially for you shortwave listeners, especially tying it into Europe. This might be an interesting offer to you all who listen to shortwave or are interested in it and can listen in Europe. I got a deal from a European shortwave station. Now, it's not a high-power one. Don't get me wrong. It's not that high of a power, transmitter power. There's plenty of stations in Europe. You have the Wooferton transmitter site for the BBC World Service, which, has big 250 kilowatt transmitters. Think of it this way. 1,000 watts is equal to 1 kilowatt. So 250 kilowatts is around 250,000 watts. Now, that's a lot of power for a transmitter, considering that the highest power AM transmitters in the U.S. legally are 50 kilowatts. So, if you're located somewhere late at night and you try to tune to CBS 880 AM or WFAN 660 AM, you might be able to hear them far outside of the target area of, the New York area. And that's how far, a 50 kilowatt AM transmitter will go. Think of 250 kilowatts, how strong that is. Right? Have that. Have the site in Noon in Germany. That's a real old site. That has some history to it. Goes all the way back, I think, to almost the World War II days. They use transmitters anywhere from 100 kilowatts to 250. You have the Issoudun site of Radio France International in France, which uses 500 kilowatts. Those are the big transmitters right there. Those are the big boys, 500 kilowatts. Oof. Don't mess with those, Big stations like Radio France use that. Voice of Iran. China Radio International. All India Radio. The real hardcore international broadcasters who really want to make their voice heard. Those are the ones that'll just, There's a chance if you just point the antennas westward, it might just loop around the globe eventually, if the conditions are right. Normally they don't do that, but, still, it'll be heard throughout much of the Earth. 500 kilowatts if it's used correctly. Had the stupid idiots at Radio Kuwait last year, before they broke all the transmitters and went off the air because they broke them all. You had the idiots over there with great station, excellent English service, the best English service on shortwave at the time. It was like 3 hours of straight up good music. It was crazy. Those are some good times, I tell you. I used to listen to Radio Kuwait's English service every day from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. 15,540 kilohertz to North America. Great English service. Started off with some, news headlines, and, of course it's an Islamic country, so they gotta throw that in. Some teaching about Islam. But then after that, just straight up music, some public service announcements, program here and there by the GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, about, the Arab states and whatnot. More good music. It was good stuff. Played a mix of music, too. 90s hits, Western music, 90s hits, 2000s, 2010s music, 80s, 70s, even played some big band music a couple times, twice. But anyways, so it's a great station, but they didn't know how to use their transmitters. They always ran off of 500 kilowatts, but they didn't know how to use it properly, so they ended up using the wrong frequencies for the wrong time of year. And even with such a high-power transmitter, pretty much the broadcast was getting beamed into space. No one was able to hear it. It was useless. And they ran that every day like that, and it just broke after so much overuse for no one. It was a shame. A crying shame, really. Don't even get me started on Radio Kuwait. I can just talk for 2 hours about them. But anyways, this station in Germany runs off of 10 kilowatts of power, which, doesn't seem like much. But still, that's 10,000 watts. And they choose a good frequency, 6070 kilohertz. It's located in Germany. I believe the transmitter site is called VORW. Yeah, pardon my pronunciation. Something to that extent, anyways. It's called Channel 292. And, you know, they use a good frequency. They're heard in Central Europe, you know, Germany, Austria, Hungary, the Czech Republic, probably parts of lower Scandinavia. Make it into the UK, France, Netherlands. And, so, you know, when the times are right, they can still be heard over, 500 miles. That's good. So anyways, they gave me an offer that I might take up, see how it works, where I might be able to get VORW back on that station on a weekly basis through the month of March, 1 hour per show, free of charge. Isn't that something? Free of charge. Just got the offer today, contacted them, and we might be able to work something out. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted. That's that. So, secondly, and most controversially, if you will, if you've heard of a television program called Tosh.0, I'll be on it, next week. Review Bra's a normie. He's a normie. People are probably calling me right now, But, if it interests you, it's on Comedy Central. And if you'd like to watch it, go ahead. I won't be watching it. That's all there is to it. I didn't do the whole Tosh.0 thing for any sort of money or any sort of hope of popularity. None of that interests me. I honestly, truth be told, I was ready to cancel it the day before I was supposed to go out there and be on it, but I figured, it's a unique experience, and I doubt I'll get an offer like that again, so I said, I'll do it and deal with the fallout when the time comes. But, think what you want. I'm not gonna stop you, but I just did it in the end because I thought it would be a neat experience, and it was. It was. Once the show airs, I'll tell you all the whole story about it and everything. There's a whole non-disclosure thing, so I don't know how much I can or can't say, but I don't know. If you want to watch it, go ahead. I'm not going to be. I reiterate. I never want to see myself on television. Ugh. Thought of that just repulses me. It's, to me, absolutely shameful. And something I could never, ever see. I could never see myself on television. Oh, God. Not at all. But that's that. That's what we got. And with that, I think we'll head over to our Night Walk segment now. This Night Walk was recorded a few days ago, and it deals with various subjects, but I'd like to lead you into it by saying the following. Just think for a moment. Think back to the year 2000. I know many of us, at least, were adults, or at least young adults at the time. Perhaps not all of us, but many of us. 16 years ago now. 16. Soon to be 20. 20 years ago. Isn't that something? 20 years. And it's only going to get farther away. Only going to get farther and farther. And there's nothing we can do about it. And that's what time is. It passes and it passes, and everything just gets farther and farther away. Nothing in the past will ever get closer. So this lecture will deal with time and my little strategy and idea of trying to make the most of it. Hope you can enjoy, my friends. We'll be returning after that with the fan mail letter segment. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Alright, folks, here we are. We're walking. It's not too late of a walk right now. It's still, around 11:30 p.m. or so. And, I guess you'd say a midnight walk. I figure by the time this is concluded, it'll be maybe 12:15 a.m. or so. So you can consider this segment to be a midnight walk. Going down a busier road right now. Got some guy shining his lights on at me, his bright lights. But eventually we'll be turning into a emptier road with less noise from passing cars and less distractions in general. Overall, I figure this will just contain miscellaneous thoughts and digressions and so forth. It's a pleasant night out. I mean, perfectly clear skies. Crystal clear skies. Doesn't get any better than that, eh? Crystal clear. Cloudless. Just completely clear. You don't get too many skies like this one. Deep. I mean, it's completely clear with a full, somewhat full moon, almost full for the most part, moon, illuminating the sky, giving the normal blackness of the space almost more of a deep blue quality to it, you know? And throughout the shining light from the moon lays a little blanket of stars. I always like to use the comparison of the stars as though it's an old blanket covering the earth. You know, and all these little stars are just little holes poked in the fabric. And there's little pieces of light shining through. But really, it's always if you get in the right mindset, it's always a very interesting experience to just take a walk or look out a window and just gaze up upon the firmament and just look, observe the heavens, and say right now I'm looking at this one star shining rather brightly. I mean, to think it's just so far away, yet we can still see it. Something so incredibly far away to us in terms of our distance, we can still see. Can still see it shining away off in the void of space. What purpose does it serve? Can say it doesn't serve any purpose. It's just sitting there, burning away. And that's all that it's doing, and that's all that it's ever going to do until it becomes no more one day. Nice night, though. Nice night. Temperatures in the upper 40s. It's around 48, 49. It's a good day today. I still have my little head cold here. But still, nice night. Warm night in comparison to some of the other nights that have lately been, this winter. Most nights have been in the 20s, maybe 30s, but near 50-degree night, and that's not bad. So I took the opportunity to head out this evening and take a walk, a longer walk too. Enjoy the night, share my thoughts, and get a little night walk segment on the VORW program again. Haven't been walking much recently, and I always say a good constitutional always does you good. Walking never hurts, and it's a nice thing to do. I recommend it. I really do. Here's what it comes down to in my view of walking. And that really, the way I see it, unless you intend to take a walk miles and miles long. Big jog, big run across the city, across the town, through the countryside. I think a pleasant walk could still be several miles in length, just as beneficial to your mind as it is your body. A lot of people just treat walks as if, alright, I gotta lose those 5 pounds, let me take a walk. And, they'll be walking kind of half texting on their phone the whole time, inadvertently sipping on a beverage that'll just, give back the calories that they're losing. Walking is just, I think something that's underestimated a lot. And I think truly a walk, especially a night walk, can be an absolutely beautiful and soul-soothing experience if you do it with the mindset that, alright, it'll be a nice walk, I'll get some exercise to it, I'll lose, blah 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 calories. But at the same time, I'm just going to take a walk, observe my surroundings, and just enjoy the night. That's what I try to do with my walks. I don't really take walks for fitness. I mean, of course they help. Given my diet and the poor quality thereof, a walk is, of course, beneficial. But anyways, I just think that walks really can do a person good. I know a lot of people have contacted me and they've said, review, bro, I like walking and all, but I mean, why do you do the night walks? Why don't you go out in the day when it's when it's light out? Don't you worry about, dealing with whatever it may be when you're walking? I mean, for instance, take it right now. I'm here walking. I'm sure you may have noticed, maybe not, the lack of cars. Going down a long, empty road. Nobody here. Nobody around. Right? Don't you not feel safe walking in these areas? You say no, not at all. I feel perfectly fine. Not even, in so much that I feel safe. I just, I'm an introverted, reclusive person for the most part. And being where other people aren't, is almost a comfort for me. To be alone or with just a small selection of people. It is. And as for if I run into someone or something, I'll deal with it when it happens. That's all there is to it. I say, I may not be the most physically fit person in the world, but at that same token, if I need to run like hell, you bet I will. You bet I will. Walking past a old pile of snow in a parking lot, melting away slowly. There's no snow anywhere else. Everything else is clear. It's been folks, it's been a while since I last took this walk, this exact same circuit. Been a while. Because it was just too cold to really stay out for anything longer than than a half hour or so. Didn't want to get frostbite or any sort of just prolonged coldness, you can say. When it gets warmer, usually when it's even in the 40s out, I'll do this circuit. It's a longer circuit, about a 1 to 3 mile, probably 2 to 3 mile, probably 2.5 mile circuit that I do. It's a great walk. And it's been a while. Been a while since I did this walk. Perhaps right now you can hear the drone of a single-engine plane. But there goes the plane. But been a while. It's has probably been legitimately probably since maybe December. A few months. That brings me on to a topic which I'll discuss here, and if I want to discuss it in depth further, I'll talk about it in the VORW show when I get back home, at least. Sometimes while I'm walking, I forget that this is the VORW show. I'm kind of, just talking. Time and the passage thereof. Someone shaking their head, I imagine, saying, yeah. But we already talked about time in the VORWs. We talk about it like every other show, pretty much. And I'm not even going to lie, I do. It's a topic that I talk about a lot. I talk about time a lot. But, as I sometimes say, there's always a method to my madness. I always have a reason, or I try to have a reason, as to why I talk about something. Why I do some of the things that I do. Because I feel that time really, it's the most important part, of our existence. It's the one factor that, that keeps us here. The one thing that controls everything. Time. Isn't that something? When you really think about it. And at the same time, it's one of the most underappreciated things out there. Yes, time often runs our days. Gotta report to work at a certain time. Get to leave work at a certain time. Gotta wake up and go to sleep at a certain time. Gotta meet a friend at a certain time. Gotta make those reservations at restaurant at a certain time. Gotta tune to that shortwave broadcast at a certain time. We were born at a certain time. We end at a certain time. Time dictates everything. One way or another. This walk right now, I left at a certain time. I chose the time of night for a reason. The length of this program, it just goes on and on. Everything. I see a car up ahead. How long will a tank of gas last? How long will it be before I have to go back to the pump and fill up again? The driver might think every now and then. This traffic light? How much longer until the bulbs burn out and you gotta replace them? How long is this traffic light going to be? How long is the red light going to be? Dictates everything. Yet it's always looked upon, for the most part, in either a negative light or just a insignificant light. And for good reason. We've known that time dictates everything since the minute we were able to have coherent thought. It's true how we were all raised, how every human was raised in one way or another. But as I reiterate, time is just looked upon as, why is this day at college got to be so damn long? Ugh, 4 more hours at the office. That pizza's 10 minutes late, come on. Or it's just looked upon as nothing special. Yeah, alright, and we'll make this show 2 hours. Alright, yeah, the walk's going to be 45 minutes, yeah, alright. Yeah, we'll schedule the VORW broadcast on 7490 for 4 p.m. Or just insignificant. It's, just insignificant or just business related. Nothing special about it. One thing that time is very seldom done with, and that's appreciated. Very seldomly is it ever appreciated. Or is it appreciated in a very short light? When prompted to, is time perhaps appreciated. And the true significance thereof is seldom understood. That one day, one day time is gonna run out. Every minute is precious. You don't know when it's gonna end. You literally don't. I'm not saying to go around and be that weird guy and sit there at the office saying, oh, this cup of coffee is, it's the best thing I've ever had. Oh, thank you. Oh, I'm so thankful for this cup of coffee. No, you don't have to do that. Not at all. Not at all. But you just gotta realize this is important. Time is important. Especially our time. It's not finite. It's not infinite. It's finite. Not here forever. And there's going to come a time in my life that I'm not going to be able to do many of the things that I can do right now. That's something I have to tell myself. Really is. I mean, one important thing with time, of course, is knowing we're not here forever, and being able to appreciate our surroundings and things closest to me, right? For me, family and loved ones, significant others. That's it. So that I hold to my heart, and that I appreciate, and that I realize the significance of. Something that I cherish very much so. And another thing that I cherish very greatly is the natural beauty of this earth around us. You heard me going on a little monologue about the heavens, about the stars and the moon and the sky above us. And that's kind of been built in with me now. I just appreciate nature. look at the sky, look at the stars, I'll think about it, say, it's a very pretty night, I'm going to take a walk tonight. The trees, the emptiness, being able to walk down the street for the most part and say, it's just to me. I could enjoy it in peace and silence. Right? There's one thing I'm still trying to work on. Haven't gotten down yet. And I think I say this for a few other people too. Even with the realization that time is finite. Even with the realization that, my health won't always be as it is now. And even with the realization that, theoretically speaking, there's the chance that I won't even make it home alive. Let's say during this walk, while I'm recording this VORW, I'm crossing the street and I get run over by a truck and I die. And that these are my last few moments right now. Even with that realization, the most difficult thing to do is to actually be able to initiate the things that you want to do. And I speak for myself here when I say that. I'm not trying to be Mr. Perfect. I'm not saying, look at me being all philosophical and telling you what to do because I'm perfect and I know what I'm talking about. Not at all. I speak for myself here. I got a ton of things I need to work on. And this is one of the many, many things I gotta improve on and work on. But, there's things in my life that I know if I do, it will significantly improve my level of happiness. And just make things exponentially better for me. And I know this. And I know exactly what to do also. But sometimes being able to actually going out and do it is the hardest thing of all. The hardest thing. Doing that action, making that conversation, going to this place, whatever it might be. The hardest thing of all. Could have the right mindset, have the right idea, but actually going out there and doing it is the most difficult thing you can possibly do in this case. The most. And it's something I struggle with from almost every day. I tell myself, and I know it'll be seen in a comical regard thanks to the Shia LaBeouf video, but I have to tell myself, why don't you just do it? What's holding you back? Just do it. In my mind, it's also because of my anxieties, which are of clinical proportions. I always come up with worries. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this person says this or that person says that? And such. And I always retort, so what? Back to myself, so what? So what if this person says this? Still gonna be better in the end anyways. Might cause you a few moments and days of hardship or strife, but so what? Outcome's gonna be good anyways. So what are you waiting for? But slowly but surely, I'm able to overcome these barriers, situation by situation, step by step, with my mind being my very worst enemy. My mind really is two-faced. Really is a double-edged sword. The part of my mind knows what to do to make things better than they are now. To get me on that path to true happiness. I know how to get there. I know what to do. And then there's that other part of my mind, the anxieties and all of that, which is trying to hold me back. It's a constant battle between the two. And it's a very difficult and very long battle. But I try my best. I do. And, eventually in these difficult decisions and actions and whatever it may be, I'm able to succeed, but it's not always easy. But that's just me with my communication issues. Save that for another day. What I'm trying to say is that time is finite. Time we have is finite. And the time we have to use is finite. So if you know what to do, if you see the path that'll set things right, that'll get you to where you want to be, and you know how to get to this path, how to get on this path, and how to stay on this path, just do it. Because time is running out. And it's something I deal with every single day. But time is running out. That gate is closing, that door is closing, that window's closing. And chances are, once it's closed, it's not opening again. Every week, inching closer to getting closed. Creeping steadily, but surely. Not stopping for anything. Once that window of opportunity is gone, it's gone. But right now that window's still open. Doesn't matter if it's open all the way or but a crack. It's still open. And there's still that chance, still that shot, still that opportunity to get to where you want to be. Some cases where you need to be. And just as I say, there might be things holding you back. Might be your own mind. I know that's the biggest thing for me. But just know, if you want to get there, sometimes with a bit of work and determination, you can get there. And I oftentimes try to think about how good things will be once I do the thing that I want to do. And I use that as my motivation. I say, it might be very anxiety-inducing. It might be difficult. It might make things rough this week. But look at things a month from now. And look at where you'll be. Look at where you'll be if you go ahead and do this. Look at how happy you'll be. Look at how thankful you'll be. Now look a month from now if you don't do this. And look at where you'll be. I just try to do that. I try to look to the future. I try to just say, if I do this, things will get better. Yes, they will. So just do it. Say to myself, just get that courage, get that resolve, just do it. I don't know if this was of any use, but this was a philosophical / motivational lecture, impromptu, by me, as I take a walk tonight. Hope you enjoyed it, and any feedback regarding it, of course, is always appreciated. repweekinterview1@gmail.com or vorwinfo@gmail.com. My walk for the night is wrapping up now, making the approach homebound now. It's been a good walk, though, and I was really thinking out loud when I talked tonight. It really was. And, just the truth. Just what I feel. What I think. And this is what goes through my mind. Usually not on tape like this. But it's what goes through my mind while I take these walks. As I say, soul-soothing. It's a real good way for one to clear their mind by taking a night walk. Even a daytime walk. It can even be a form of meditation, you can say. But it clears out my mind, rids it for the time of any anxieties or worries. And to me, at least, it does me a lot of good. Thank you again for listening. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. And now from a night walk to fan letters. This is the mailbag portion of VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. So here we are, folks, again for the main segment of the show now. Hope you enjoyed the little lecture that we gave in the night walk. Hope you did. Hope you liked it. And regardless of your thoughts, hope you enjoyed the atmosphere, different change from the usual, I guess you'd call it. So anyways, folks, it's after 10 p.m. now. It's a different segment, different day. I'm just being honest. It's a different day now. It's Friday. Hope to get this to you all Saturday. And, that's what we got. So, we got more letters. We got plenty of letters here. We got a page printed out here. You can hear the page. Let's see how many we got on this page. It's double-sided. Extended the margins as far as they'll go. Times New Roman, 10-point font. And we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let's see how many we got. So we got 20 letters on this page. 20 letters. And then we got the ones on the email, which we'll get to a little later. So we got a good amount. Thank you to all of you who've written. Really appreciate it. And to all of you who've answered the question, it's time for another question for this, let's say, week's program. Okay? Here goes. As you know, I wear a suit and tie every day. I do. It's just how I dress. It's just how I've always dressed. And it's how I plan on dressing. Really, for as long as suits will exist, I'll be wearing them. Just how it is. So, sorry about that. I took a sip of Monster. So, the question is this. As you know, I wear this type of formal clothing every day. How often, alright, this will be interesting. How often do you wear what you may consider to be formal clothing? That can be whatever your definition of it is. For men, for the most part, a suit, even a shirt and tie, right? For women, it could be a dress, could be a women's suit, even a men's suit. But how often would you say you wear formal clothing? Do you wear it every day for fun like I do? Do you wear it for work? Do you wear it for the occasional wedding or funeral? Do you just don't wear it at all? Do you not even own a suit or a dress or so forth? So, interesting to be able to gauge how the audience dresses. I think it'll be interesting. So anyways, we're moving on now to the letters here. Now this letter, I remember reading it in the last one, but the person messaged me and said they didn't hear it. So we're going to read it again. And nonetheless, maybe it got cut out by accident, I'm not sure. And even if it is in, you're going to get, two for one, I guess. So here goes. Dear Mr. Report of the John Bra, personally, my favorite chicken sandwich from a fast food place, is by far Chick-fil-A. My college has one on campus, and I eat it at least once per week because it is simply a great time. Although, and I'm not sure if this is a nationwide chain or just a Northeast thing, I'm also a big fan of Boston Market's dark meat chicken dinners. If you do not have Boston Market in Review Brownland, it is a slightly higher scale fast food place that serves primarily chicken dishes, with moderately high quality sides. I'm not a big fan of their mac and cheese, personally. For a fast food style restaurant, its chicken is surprisingly fantastic. And I was sad to hear in the last VORW that you had less than stellar week, and I hope that things are looking up for you. You deserve to be happy, seeing that you bring happiness to so many people, including myself, through your wonderful reviews and your irreplaceable VORW shows. Tonight, I had the thought that you perhaps could review 7-Eleven Slurpees in your currently unnamed beverage review series. I'm a big fan of Slurpees, and would love to have your thoughts on them. All the best from Lucas. Thank you for writing, Lucas. And Chick-fil-A, I should say, is a great chicken establishment. Aren't any super nearby me, but I did have the pleasure of being near one for a while, and I made frequent visits to it. I did. We had some good chicken sandwiches there. Really, really great. I thought it was great. You can see the review I did of it. Good stuff it is. And there are Boston Markets around here. I've had their chicken, and the chicken itself there is pretty good too. Pretty fine it is. Better than you'd expect for a somewhat fast food type place. And the sides are good too. I like the sweet potato casserole from there. That's quite good, should I say. It's my favorite side, actually. I like that little bit of a brown sugar and perhaps marshmallow that they have is in it as well. I like that. I think it does a good job and sweetens it up and makes it into a very fine tasting, almost dessert. And Slurpees, I can throw that into the unnamed drink series. Speaking of drinks, today I wanted to do a drink review. May have heard in the latest review I didn't get the chance to do it. And, gotta just shrug it off and gotta say, hey, what can you do? What can you do? I wanted to get that new Rockstar drink from Taco Bell, but I went there and the guy just didn't want to do it. That's all there is to it. When they say the machine's broken, it means they're too lazy to fix it or, make the freezes and clean it out later. Second time I've had that happen. So, just a trick that they do. But I gotta say, if I worked at Taco Bell, there might be a Friday where I just don't want to do that either. I might just say, it's broken. Kind of my way of saying, I want to get a little less work for myself. I guess I don't blame them. On to the next. Hi, who are your influences? I grew up in New York and often listened to NPR, Howard Stern, and Ron and Fez. There is comedy and darkness in a similar way to yours. Howard Stern always uses self-deprecating humor to discuss his anxieties. Fez, from Ron and Fez, was a great comedian but suffered from autism and depression, often broke down in tears on the air. Have you heard any of them? I assume a big inspiration is shortwave radio. I've listened to NPR from time to time, and Howard Stern I listened to back in the day, back in 2012 or so. I always thought his programs were pretty funny, pretty out there. Yes, you're right. My big influence in terms of this show is shortwave radio. I listened to all the different stations, and just hearing them was able to give me different types of styles to use and all that. So really listening to the stations like the BBC World Service, Voice of America, Radio Romania International, and Radio Havana, Cuba as well. Especially Radio Havana, Cuba. They're a shortwave station broadcasting from Havana, and, really, they have a good English service and a good host as well who uses, his name is Ed Newman, and he uses a nice dry humor style on the air that I admire. I think he's a very good radio host, and I like what he does. So I guess those would be my inspirations, in terms of, this broadcasting initiative. On to the next, folks. Love winter and snow. And yes, by the way, the last question for this program, now that I'll be answering, is what are your thoughts on winter, the season? Love winter and snow. Tokyo is pretty much devoid of the white stuff these days, regardless of some classic woodblock prints that might lead you to believe. Born in February in Canada, so I have a special link to it. Watch out where the Huskies go. Don't eat that yellow snow. From Zappa. A question of my own. Are you adverse to reviewing Japanese snack foods, not odd to Western audiences, flavors, but more applicable to your tastes? If not, please inform where one might send the mentioned snack foods. Thanks. Well, thank you. And no, I'm not against that at all. I'd review some Japanese snack foods for sure. I'm indifferent. I gladly would. I don't have anywhere where they can be sent to at all yet. There's been the ongoing debate for about 2 years now as to get a P.O. box or not, and that's still up in the air. So take it as you will, but one day a P.O. box will be gotten, and you can send all the Japanese snack foods that you please. But for now, there's no such address. Okay, let's see what else we got. See what the next one is. Dear John, I'm from Vienna, Austria, and I love to listen to VORW. Since I am not a very social person myself, I love to listen to like-minded people. About your question. I don't like winter in a big city. It's dirty and depressing. And it also hardly ever snows in Vienna. People are sick in the subway and sneeze right into your face. Now, it's a different story when you can spend winter in the countryside. I enjoy that a lot. I have a question for you. What do you think about the current vegan lifestyle hype? Thanks, from Marley's. Hope I pronounced that right. I agree with you first and foremost about winter in different settings. In New York City, for instance, it's disgusting. I mean, it really is. Had to walk the streets of Manhattan You know, back when there was a big storm here, and it was disgusting. I mean, you know, it's the snow. I don't even know. I guess they dump it in the river. I guess there's not much snow on the ground, even after a foot of snow. You know, it's kind of all gone, but there's just this black slush everywhere. It's disgusting. It's just filthy. Filthy. And it gets on your shoes and on the bottom of your pants and it leaves this brownish like stain. Oof. No fun. No fun at all. So you're right, it really is dirty. It's just filthy. Yeah, I mean you can't help it, all the taxis and all the people walking around, you can't help it. Of course it'll be dirty very quick. But oh, in the countryside the snow is beautiful. Just beautiful, pristine white fields of snow, untouched by people. Snow-capped, coniferous forests. Ooh, it's quite beautiful, but in the city, forget it. Absolutely spot on there. And the vegan lifestyle hype, you know. I figure if you want to be a vegan, be my guest. I'm not going to stop you at all. It's your life, your decisions. If you want to make your own dietary decisions, go for it. You know, you do what you want to do, my friend. I myself am not a vegan or a vegetarian. I put the canine teeth to very good use. Always do. Always do. Always do. I'm a meat eater. Meat eater. You know, so I figure you do what you want to do. One thing I don't like is the people who, you know, are vegans but try to push it in your face. They'll say, you know, hey, I'm a vegan, you know, look at you eating that burger, think about that, you know, whatever it might be. Give you a spiel about the cow or how it's bad for your health, and they'll tell you gotta be a vegan, you know, if you're not a vegan, F you. I don't like that ideology. You can be the most hardcore vegan in the world, but I mean, don't try to convert anyone. And I mean, I'm talking to deaf ears because, I mean, a lot of people do the same thing to vegans, you know. A lot of people will say, you know, what's the matter with you? Why don't you want to eat a nice steak or something? You just got to try to look at it from all perspectives. But I myself am not a vegan, nor do I intend to be. My policy in the end with most things is, you know, it's your life and your decisions. You make the decisions, not me. For your life, how you want to live. You know, that's what I say to it all. Greetings from Canada, Mr. of the Week. In response to your winter question, it is my favorite season. The world is a more beautiful place under a blanket of snow. And it's an opportunity to wear sweaters, scarves, and gloves. I much prefer getting warm on a cold day to cooling down on a hot day. I prefer warm fires to ceiling fans and hot chocolate iced tea. Winter is where it's at. My question to you: how many ties do you own? Which are your favorites? And do you have a purple one? Well, first and foremost, my Canadian listener, that was very eloquently written and nicely done. I like the little comparisons in it. Secondly, you know, I mean, you do have a point. I wouldn't say winter is my favorite, but it can always get warmer when it's cold. When it's hot, you can only strip down so much. And if you're still warm and you're not in air conditioning, not much you can do about it. I mean, yeah, you can say, yeah, but, you know, imagine if it was, you know, absolute zero, you know, you'd die. It could be so warm and you'd still die, you know. I'm talking about realistically on Earth, you know. You can say in the same case, well, imagine outside, you know, if it was a billion degrees, You know, you can say that to anything. Give an unrealistic analogy. But I understand there. There's some nice things about winter. With sweaters, I used to wear sweaters. I have a bunch, believe it or not. I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I must have at least 15 or so sweaters. And I haven't even worn a single one in the past year, about. Maybe a sweater vest here and there. It was like a 3-piece suit, but otherwise I don't wear sweaters anymore. I'd prefer to... It's just me being, I guess, me. Especially in public. I just consider them, for my own personal dress code, nothing that anyone else should adhere to, just me. I consider them to be too informal to wear out in public. I think, for me, a jacket and tie is at least the bare minimum to wear. I used to wear sweaters all the time. I did. I used to wear sweaters. My sweater season, personally, used to be from January until around June. I'd wear sweaters until it got to about 80 degrees outside. I'd wear sweaters on 75, 77 degree days. I would. Sweater and tie and long sleeve shirt underneath. I just didn't sweat. It didn't bother me any. Didn't. That's what I'd wear. As for the ties, how many ties do I own? What are my favorites, and do I have a purple one? At this point in time, I'd have to say I probably have around 200 ties now. I haven't done a count in a long time, but I have probably around 200 right now. So a very large amount of ties. Originally, my first collection, which I got in 2009 or so, and that's when I really learned to tie a tie. There's around 40 or 50 vintage ties. Old ties, probably from the 1940s and 50s. And at this point in time, they've been integrated in with just the regular ties that I wear. And by far now, the amount of recent acquisitions outnumbers, the other older ties. I'm not saying all my recent acquisitions are modern ties. They certainly aren't. The modern ties are so skinny. I like my wider ties because they go with the nice wide lapel suits, and it allows for nice, bigger, and in my opinion, prettier patterns. Can kind of display nicer. But nonetheless, nonetheless, I think that what have you. I don't know what I was gonna say, but I really have a lot of nice favorite ties. So I have let's see. It's tough to describe them. I have a lot of nice Art Deco type ties that I like a lot. Some of the Jerry Garcia ties are nice. There's this one tie I really like. It's this blue and black striped tie. But there's something about it that I really like, and also someone else in my life likes it a lot too. It's a special tie. I like it. Do I have a purple one? I have several. Two that come to mind immediately is this one purplish colored Jerry Garcia tie. And I also have this purple and silver striped tie too. That's a nice one. On to the next. Hey Review Bra, long time subscriber. Thanks for doing M&M Cherry, because I was very interested in trying these. There are 2 other Easter exclusive flavors that I'd love to see you review. Maybe in like an Easter blowout. White Strawberry Shortcake, Target only, and Easter Sundae. I haven't seen Easter Sundae in stores yet, so it might be a few more weeks until those are out. Thanks, brah. Well, thank you for your suggestions. And I actually today reviewed the White Strawberry Shortcake M&Ms. I hope you saw that and enjoyed it. The White Strawberry Shortcake M&Ms. They were good. very rich in flavor. I like that. You know, it's so interesting now at this point how they can get these little chocolate candies and make them just taste so rich. It's not even a very strong, accurate flavor. Just for these, the little strawberry flavor, they got it in that. Thought it's really neat. Condense it into something so small. But they did it, and they did a good job at it too. And the Easter Sunday one, I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for it. That would kind of complete the trifecta, of all the different M&Ms that have been released seasonally. May as well, right? We already reviewed 2 of the 3. We've got to make it 3 out of 3 now. So we'll see about that. Continuing on. Dear Review Bra, my girlfriend and I are both huge fans of your show. We are listening to it on a frigid winter's night, appropriate, I think, because of your question about the winter. We both love the winter and absolutely hate the summer. Perhaps you can relate to some of our reasons. For instance, when it's too damn hot out, it makes wearing a suit, when not in an air-conditioned room, quite oppressive. Too much heat and energy keys up my anxiety. Nothing like sweating into your bowl of cereal in the morning. No thanks. Favorite thing about the winter is when... Favorite thing about the winter is I feel that it clears the mind. It's fresh, cold, and easier to focus, and not have an excess of heat and energy bogging you down, as well as all the other noise and bad vibes that you have to deal with all year. So, I say, slide my corpse into a frozen ice crevice when I die, and may summer give all the annoying fun and sun types horrible burns. P.S. Your show rocks, my man. You're onto something big here, and you've got tons of fans between us and my friends, tearing up YouTube. Never give in to the BS of this world. The will of the individual shall conquer all, my friend. Hails from B and K. Well, thank you for writing. And it's very clear you're very strongly opinionated about the winter, and I don't blame you. A lot of people have their favorite season, and they stand very firmly by it. They do. And that is another good thing about the winter. It's always quiet, When it's the summer, and, one thing I like about the summer, at least, is that because I'm a night owl, it gets warm enough at night that I can go outside comfortably without freezing. When it gets warm at night, usually it has to be around 50 degrees or warmer. I'll go out sometimes late at night. I'll just stand outside and listen to the shortwave a little bit and be able to pick up some nice nighttime signals outside while getting the fresh night air in. But at the same time, you have all the insects making their noise, you have insects flying around. If you're up real late, which I oftentimes am, usually between, 3:30 and 6:30 a.m., the birds will start chirping. You'll have the morning chorus making its noise, and all that. When that happens, it can be loud, can be noisy, can be distracting. So while it does make it easier to comfortably be out late at night, it makes it easier for a lot of other things too as well. The other night, it actually, thanks to just a really strong warm front that moved through late at night, it was 60 degrees in the middle of the night on a February night. Kind of like a summer night, but I was able to go out, listen to some shortwave, and, utter silence. And it was very nice. I thought, it'd be nice in the summer if it was like that, but alas, it's not. All the bugs have things to say to each other. The cicadas like to screech to each other, and birds like to chirp at each other. What do they all say? Who knows? But that's it. Hey again, Review Bra. To date, you've provided well over 100 food and drink reviews, and let's cut the brass tracks here. What is your all-time favorite food and drink that you have reviewed? As a suggestion, maybe have a top 10 food/drink blowout video. For the video, you should enjoy yourself, your top favorite food and drink. And second question, Do you know how to use chopsticks? Do you like sushi? Thanks for reading, and as I sign off my message, can you scream as loud as you can? Much love from the French boner. Thank you, Mr. Bonner. I guess that was me screaming as loud as I could. It was actually so loud and so high-pitched. It was at a frequency that our ears just can't pick up. It was just that high-pitched and that loud. So, take it as that. As answering your question, all-time favorite food and all-time favorite drink that I've reviewed, Ball's Original Energy Drink is the favorite drink that I've tried. All-time favorite food, of course, is the burger from Five Guys. That thing was excellent on all accounts. It's a great burger, a bit on the pricey side, but you're getting your money's worth. So, I think it's a nice treat to have every now and then. And you're not the first person to suggest a top 10 video. I think that might be something to think about. Not the first person. Maybe I'll do a top 10 video, and I'll talk about the top 10 products. When as I eat a Five Guys burger and wash it down with some balls. I don't know how the two would go together, but perhaps nicely. One thing, though, about top 10 reviews, or top 10 videos, and they get some views, don't get me wrong, people like to know what the top 10 of everything is. What's the top 10 types of water to drink? What's the top 10 brands of clocks that there are? What's the top 10 smallest dust particles in the world? I know, people like all that stuff. Don't get me wrong. Just like, the Fine brothers, they like to, can react to anything. Oh yeah, hey, you see that new YouTube trend, whatever? Yeah, just drive down to the retirement home, give the owner a couple $100 and just go around and ask all the seniors, what their thoughts are on this. Same thing. People love that stuff. And they do. But, here's what we got. Well, let's see. The problem with those videos is that they require extensive editing. That's a problem for me. I don't edit the videos. I don't have the software to edit the videos. So, a modernized top 10 video, let's make this up, right? All right, best fast food places, Five Guys number 1, and then you'd have some, fancy infographic or picture about Five Guys, flash up with a little whoosh sound effect, and then you say Taco Bell, you have Taco Bell, maybe you'll get the little ringing of the bell, and then the Taco Bell thing would pop up. That's how the top 10 videos are done now. I don't know, with me, it would be me sitting at the desk, as always, just enunciating it verbally. The best graphic I could do if I want to kill, 20 trees, 10 for each, just print out a page, page-long picture of said company, and hand them in a little stack like cue cards, and just, lift them off and throw them on the floor one by one. I guess that's the poor man's way of doing that. Interesting idea, though. Something I gotta consider, truth be told. Because other people have suggested it. Okay, here's the next one. Dear Report of the Week, I don't have a whole lot to say this time around, but I would like to mention something you said in VORW show number 108 in regards to the passing of time. Quote, you just have to find a few things that give you solace, and you've got to stick close to them. That's all you can do to keep going. It was late in the afternoon on New Year's Eve, and I was driving down the road listening to VORW when I heard that. Something about the cold, gray sky and fading daylight made that quote really stick with me. Time is flying by so incredibly fast, and I would be lying if I said it doesn't scare me. It's difficult to stand idly by while all the things I've grown up with become old antiquities of a bygone era. It is truly sobering. Luckily, time leaves with us with some very warm and powerfully vivid memories that we can look back on fondly during rough, tough times. But most days become nothing more than fleeting images at best. Finding the things that give you solace and clinging to them for dear life really is all we can do, as you said. Anyways, I hope you're doing well, and thank you for the wonderful content. Well, thank you very much for writing, and I agree 100% with what you said. Time really is passing by us, and I kind of tied in time a little bit with the kind of mini lecture I gave on the walk. But you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Time, it just goes faster and faster, and you got to make use of what you got. And sometimes getting out of that comfort zone and getting out of that, thinking outside of that box, which can seem almost like a cell, almost like a prison cell. Your mind is stuck in this box. Got to get out of there if you want to get something done. Think outside the box, as they say. Could be a very tough thing. Even when you realize that you gotta do this. If you want to get to a better place in life, if you want to make yourself happier, I gotta do something that perhaps may not make me feel that comfortable, and may perhaps even cause me some strife for a short period of time, but the results will be staggeringly beautiful. It's a very difficult thing to do, and I speak for myself when I say that. Something I struggle with very often, every day. It really is. Amen to that, what you said. Wholeheartedly agree. Hey, review bro. I'm Fraser from Australia. As an Australian, I love winter. Where I live, the heat becomes so unbearable. My state has frequent 40-degree heat waves, and I feel like I'm Lawrence of Arabia in this heat. It knackers me dead. No matter where you go, you just melt. In summer, you can be butt naked, and you'll still be a shrimp sizzling in the Barbie. In winter, however, you can wear a million layers and become quite warm. In summer, you just have to go outside and your energy will drain. Not even energy crisis can solve the energy lost on a summer's day. Winter never drains my energy. Plus, you can't wear suits in the summer, but you can in the winter. Anyways, review bro, I have a question. Have you ever come to Australia? We have so much foods here readily available for reviewing purposes. Mother Energy Drink, The Energy Drink, Farmers Union Iced Coffee, Fruit Chuff. Review bro, Australia desperately needs you. Well, thank you for writing, and thank you for listening over in Australia. Believe it or not, I'm going to be listening to Radio Australia tomorrow morning to Double J on Shortwave. And, it's a good program. I know Double J is a pretty popular station in Australia. And, believe it or not, they actually relay it on Shortwave on Radio Australia for 3 hours on Saturdays. And it's on 9580 kilohertz, 12065 kilohertz, and 12085 kilohertz to the Pacific, but 9580 oftentimes just with ease skips into North America for one's listening pleasure. But Double J is such a great program, it really is. Gotta credit the folks over there. They just play such great alternative music you never hear anywhere else. Just one great song after another, in my opinion, on Double J. I'm so glad they relay it on Shortwave. When I come to Australia, the flight's not cheap. But, hey, one day, right? After I win the Powerball, do a world tour, And then goes my lottery winnings. Blink of an eye. Report of the week. The person put a bunch of E's in the word week, so I drew it out. Congratulations on 5 years of absolutely wonderful content for all of us to enjoy. Having somebody like you in our lives means so much, and not to mention can top the smile you bring to my face every time I see you uploaded a video in my notifications. Now, to answer your question previously asked in your VORW about winter, the one thing I love about winter is when it snows, and I could walk outside and it seems as if time has stopped because it's so quiet and the fresh smell tingles my ears. As always, keep up the phenomenal work, and here's to 5 more years of superb reviews. Sincerely, Nick. Thank you for writing, Nick. Okay. My pleasure, by the way. It's great to be here to have celebrated 5 years, and you guarantee I'm going to be here 5 more years. You can count on it. I'm not going anywhere. No massive changes to anything planned. The VORW shows will be VORWing. Energy crises will be energy crisising, and everything in between. So, you can count on it. I'm going to be here for 5 more years, and, hey, here's to 5 more years, my friend. And thank you very, very much for your message. And, there is, as I said, each season has its benefits and its drawbacks. And for sure, there is that certain crispness and freshness that the cold winter air brings that, nothing in summer can really compare to. It's true. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Alright, this person just messaged me about a email, said discard one. Alright, it's fine. Yo, review bro. Congrats on your 5-year anniversary. It's been a pleasure to watch you over the past few years, and I look forward to the 5 years and beyond. And in regards to VORW 112 question, I'm not a fan of the winter, and I probably never will be. Best regards from another Nick. Well, thank you for writing. And 5 more years and beyond, absolutely. Thank you for writing. Hey, review bro. I have a question for you about Shortwave. Sure, I'm the person to ask. I have recently been getting into the hobby of shortwave listening, thanks to you, and I have been using the WebSDR to listen. I've noticed in your earlier videos, you too use the WebSDR, but in later videos you use an actual handheld. May I ask what led you to graduate to that level? What are the perks of the handheld over the WebSDR? I'm asking because I've been debating whether to graduate to a handheld or stick with the internet. Thanks. Thank you. I still use the WebSDR, believe it or not. I use both now at this point. I use both. I was listening with the handheld this evening to WBCQ on 7490. They had the Fred Flintstone music show, which is great. The guy, he plays some nice rock music. Then after that, the program Alan Wiener Worldwide, which is kind of like a talk program by the station's owner. And he'll talk about any developments, kind of like VORW in a sense, where I'll usually talk about any developments in the channel and whatnot and get into little tangents. He'll talk about any developments in the station and get onto little tangents, and then he'll kind of boost it up a notch, and he'll take callers and what have you. That's kind of like how I read the letters. He gets phone calls, and he'll take some callers and whatnot. Taking another sip of water. Here's the thing. WebSDR has a lot of benefits, and don't get me wrong. It really does, and it's something that you shouldn't abandon entirely, because it's an absolutely incredible resource, and really something that's highly sought after. To be able to pick from a great number of locations around the globe, and to just be able to, as if you had a shortwave radio located right there. So they're able to pick up a lot of signals that you wouldn't be able to pick up in a normal handheld receiver. But some of the benefits of having a handheld receiver is that you might be able to pick up some signals that you wouldn't be able to pick up on a web SDR, depending on your location. Okay. Secondly, if you want to have a handheld receiver, you gotta take it as this, right? Web SDR is something that you should be able to use to listen to the shortwave, get a feel for it, how it works, know how it works, get to know a little bit about shortwave, all the propagation, different types of signals. And then once you are convinced you know a good amount about shortwave, then get a handheld and use the two interchangeably. You'll be able to pick up things on the handheld that you won't be able to pick up on the web SDR and vice versa. And secondly, it's like an experience with the handheld as well. It's different, when you're sitting at the computer listening to the shortwave broadcast. It's pretty neat. But nothing beats actually having the radio there, using it as its intended purpose. Another thing about a handheld is that, you're kind of confined to your computer, really, when it comes to web SDRs. Handheld you can bring anywhere, and if you don't care, listen wherever you want. I have a very small portable radio now, Grundig radio. Has, AM, FM, shortwave 1 and shortwave 2. And, when I go out, I bring that with me. I don't care. I'll listen to it in public with headphones on and, get my latest news and music and all that, So it kind of, lets you take the shortwave bands anywhere you desire. So I think it has its benefits and its drawbacks, but, I've listened to both extensively, and I continue to do that. There's plenty of things to listen to, especially if you're in Europe, you're set. Don't even worry. The bands will be packed. You're fine. Don't even worry about it. If you're in North America, people will say oftentimes, shortwave is dead in North America. Don't even bother listening there. It's just religious mumbo jumbo and fire and brimstone all the time. Don't even bother. You're just gonna have that old guy, Brother Stare. You'll hear him on 20 frequencies at any given time. And yeah, that's right. He's a rich guy and he buys his airtime. But there's things to listen to, and don't let the naysayers get to you. There really are. You have plenty of broadcasters that beam to North America still, or that you'll be able to hear in North America, no problem. Just to name a few, you'll be able to hear, for instance, Radio Romania International, China Radio International, the Voice of Greece, Voice of Turkey. You'll be able to hear broadcasts from all over the place. You'll be able to hear Deutsche Welle, Voice of America, the BBC World Service. You'll be able to hear even the Voice of Nigeria. Be able to hear broadcasts from the U.S., of course. Be able to hear Radio France International. You'll be able to hear Radio Exterior de España. You'll be able to hear Radio Australia, Radio New Zealand, Voice of Korea, KBS World Radio, NHK Radio Japan, Voice of Vietnam, All India Radio, and the list just goes on and on and on. Radio Cairo, Radio Havana, Cuba, Radio Argentina Exterior, Radio Nacional de Brasilica, and as I say, the list goes on and on. All 7 continents. There's even a station called Radio Nacional San Gabriel that broadcasts out of Antarctica from a station down there. So every continent got you covered. Every continent. So, Voice of Mongolia, too. Interesting shortwave news, by the way. Voice of Russia. They were so stupid for doing that. Sorry to use, it's just my opinion. They were massive broadcasters. I think many sites across Russia. And you'd think, when you hear Russia, you think a lot of the times about, they use all the old Cold War technology sometimes. So that's a Western opinion about Russia. But at the same time, you oftentimes might think about the big expanses of land in Siberia and what have you, where, there's there's not much there. You'd think, wouldn't shortwave still be necessary for places like that? You know, where FM radio clearly wouldn't make it in. And AM radio might be a little bit weak. So why not shortwave? Why'd they cut the shortwave? I mean, just look at the way tensions have rose between Russia and the West. Even if they want to use the voice of Russia as a means of propaganda, why'd they get rid of it? Got rid of it in 2014, right after the Sochi Olympics. I guess it's just the Russian bureaucracy doing what they do. But now, right, thankfully they weren't too over the top. They didn't destroy any transmitter sites. They're kind of just sitting there collecting dust. But, you know, you can turn on the transmitters anytime and they're still there. But now, get this, Russia is starting to revert the decisions of removing the shortwave. Now they're kind of realizing, wait a minute, kind of screwed up. There's places in Russia that still need shortwave. So, I heard news that there's going to be a new shortwave station in Russia with an educational purpose and informative purpose that's going to start up using a Voice of Russia transmitter site on 2 frequencies on shortwave, so I think 8 hours a day. And it'll be broadcasting 2 portions of Kamchatka and Siberia and what have you. And, you know, it'll be active on the air. And there's also reports now that, I believe, I forget the article in its entirety, but I believe a station called Radio Rosai, which is kind of like Russia's national radio, may actually be returning to shortwave as well on several frequencies for Siberia and what have you. So now they're kind of reverting. They were saying, you know, shortwave is an antiquated technology with no listeners, but a year or 2 later, now they're kind of realizing, wait a minute, shortwave is actually still needed in some parts of our own country. So, you know, let's pretend that never happened, and let's turn the transmitters back on, you know, do what we got to do. Same thing happened in 2014 with Radio Exterior de España. They originally shut off their station. They said, you know, no one listening anymore. We're going to shut the transmitters off. We're done. You know, bye-bye. And they said we're going to dismantle the transmitter site in Noblejas, Spain. And that's going to be that. And I shut it down. And don't you think don't you think that there were mass, you know, outcry from people who listen to the shortwave still. Listeners all over the globe. Lots of people in Spain, Spanish fishermen, Spanish aid workers, you know, even Spanish expatriates, and what have you, were all complaining to Radio Exterior de España in such an amount that they actually reversed their decision, and they reopened the transmitter site, and now they're back on the air on shortwave. And that only happened in about a month's time, so fast. Shows there's still people listening. And one other example, I know I'm going on a whole tangent here, but that's what we do. RTE Radio in Ireland, which does broadcast on 5820 shortwave still, I believe out of Mayerton, South Africa. And while this deals with longwave is suffering the same predicament as shortwave in terms of questionable listenership. They were going to close down their longwave broadcast at the end of 2014. But again, there was such a massive public outcry against it, they postponed it until 2018 now, the end of 2017. And we'll see if they end up moving that any further, you know, so we'll see. But, you know, there's still listenership to it. So if you do want to get a handheld, find a good one, I recommend the Texan PL660 still. Great receiver, and I recommend it. And, you know, as I said, don't let the naysayers get you down. You know, there might be more interference and more noise than you'll notice in the web SDR, but again, don't let that get to you. It's kind of makes it fun in a sense, being able to find the right place to put the antenna to pick up stations that, you know, would otherwise seem drowned out. I think that's pretty fun to do. Okay. On to the next. Dear Review Bra, I thoroughly enjoyed your live VORW broadcast on the 20th. Great work. Also, thank you to all those who donated to make it possible. However, Review Bra, I must inform you that you made me incredibly disappointed the other week. Because of your recommendation, I paid Five Guys a visit, and I was, unfortunately, almost unbearably underwhelmed. The burger was dry, tasteless, and incredibly small for how expensive it was, and I honestly couldn't tell you what the fries tasted like, considering the immense amount of salt they poured into the cup. I mean, for £16, I could have gotten a decent two-course meal at an actual restaurant plus a drink. Five Guys, in my opinion, of course, is overpriced and overrated. The vanilla milkshake was great, though. Do keep in mind that I'm from the UK, so I may not have received the true Five Guys experience. On a side note, almost every other recommendation of yours has turned out great. This is one of the few exceptions. Thank you for reading, from Ross. Well, thank you for writing, Ross, and thank you for your opinion. You know, I always say there's always the chance you're going to get a faulty batch. There's always a chance. I can get a nice Pizza Hut pizza that's been great for decades, and the cook leaves it in the oven too long, and it's burnt. The cook puts too much sauce on it when I asked for light sauce. You know? Asked for a Subway sandwich with bacon, lettuce, tomato. And the chef, right? The Subway certified sandwich artisan put it in the toaster for 10 seconds too long. It got burnt, and the bacon got scorched, and it just wasn't as good. The burger, they left it on the grill too long. I always say, S happens. Just how it is. Nothing's perfect all the time, and it seems as though you might have gotten a faulty batch. Maybe the staff was just inattentive, not good. Perhaps it's just how Five Guys is in the UK, but I myself have never had a bad Five Guys experience in the States, and many others I'm sure can attest to that, but, I always have to say, nothing can be truly perfect. Always disparities, there's always going to be issues, and, I apologize on that behalf. Sometimes it happens. So I apologize about your money, and hey, at least you got a nice vanilla milkshake out of it, right? At least you did. At least it wasn't all a bust. At least you kind of got a nice drink to wash it down with. Dear Mr. Review Bra, I genuinely love your content. I've watched many of your VORWs and love to listen while I do my homework. I'm currently listening while working on my business midterm, and I curse you for being so wonderfully distracting. I have a question for you, and perhaps you've answered this previously, but where do you want to get or be in the future? Do you want to grow your channel and continue doing Shortwave? Is this your dream career? I completely respect if it is, but I personally think you'd make a wonderful professional broadcaster. That'd be my dream. That'd be living the life if I was able to, to get the channel to the point where I can just sustain a life off of that. That would be great. That would be beautiful, truth be told. Let's see, continuing. I'm a small video game developer, and I love and respect your work so much. It'd mean the world to me if you'd take a look at my work when I finish. I honestly love your work, man. I don't mind, Run on Empty and VORW are the bomb. Not a huge energy drink fan. Keep up the good work, man. Sincerely, from Kenneth. Thank you for writing, Kenneth. And, wish you the best of luck for the business midterm, by the way. Really do. They can be stressful. Greetings, Mr. Review Bra. I've only been subscribed to your channel since late November of 2015, but since then, the act of watching your videos has become somewhat a routine of mine. I find myself going on VORW marathons. I find your voice, personality, and style to be very captivating. I never drink energy drinks, and rarely do I consume caffeine, but I thoroughly enjoy your Energy Crisis series regardless. Also, I present you a question. Forgive me if this has been asked before. If you were alive during the American Revolutionary War and lived in the English colonies, Would you be a patriot or a loyalist to Great Britain, and why? Responding to your same question from VORW number 112, I live in New England, so the winters are typically long and tedious. I enjoy winter for around the first month, and some snow on Christmas is nice, but after that I start to get sick of it. This isn't my first time writing, but I do plan on writing in more. Heard your special VORW on Shortwave, and I thought it was great. Sorry if this message is a little lengthy. Nevertheless, I'd like to congratulate you. 5 years on YouTube. Well, thank you. If I was alive during the American Revolution, would I be a loyalist or would I be a patriot? You know how I kind of see myself being? I kind of see myself, eventually, if this was possible, trying to take a neutral approach. Because at first I think I'd be thoroughly convinced that the British Army would put down the Patriots, and as it was considered at the time, the rebellion. It really was a rebellion, People were rebelling against the British rule. So I think at first, when news of it would first break, of Lexington and Concord, I'd probably think to myself, how the highly trained British Army would easily be able to put down these, just these guys if they're hunting rifles and everything, But I think as things would drag on, I'd eventually have to, side with the Patriots, because I'd see that they were winning, and probably for my own good, You shouldn't, especially if your own life comes in stake, you shouldn't really side with the losing side if you have the option not to, even if that's what you support, You want to live. Thank you for writing, and if you want to write in more, be glad to read your messages, like the question. And great to have you listening on Shortwave, by the way. Hello, review fella. Winter is an interesting season. The leafless trees and snow can be beautiful and captivating, and taking a walk in the winter can be great. But sometimes the winter can make you feel miserable, and cold can be unpleasant. I prefer summer to winter, but I like winter too. Well, Report Man, here's my question for you. We all know how much you love fast food, but what is your favorite non-fast food meal? Keep up the fantastic work. Again, there were a bunch of F's for the word fantastic, so I kind of drew that out. Thank you for writing, and thank you for your question. Favorite non-fast food meal? Let's see. Probably steak. And yeah, steak's expensive. It's kind of like a treat, Can't go blowing money on steak every day. But steak is nice. A nice meal of steak and perhaps some fine potatoes. Be a nice meal. Nice filet mignon. Filet mignon, of course, pronounced correctly. With some nice potatoes. Could be mashed potatoes, could be whole potato. It's very nice, in my opinion. That'd be my favorite. It's like a slow food meal. Can't really say restaurant burgers or pizza, because I've reviewed that, and that's kind of lumped in with fast food. Hey, review bro. In response to your question for VORW 112, I'd have to say winter is my second favorite season, fall being my favorite. When it comes to winter, I find that, at least for me, many good things happen. It's strange, but I always seem to be in better spirits during the season. Added, I also get to go on camping trips I normally can't do during any other season. To use as an example, had it not been the season of winter, I would not have been able to go on that snowshoe backpacking trip through the Rockies that I mentioned to you about back in the last show. I was the one who sent that picture of the foggy, snowy mountains. However, winter does have its downs for me too. Though I surprisingly never seem to get sick during the time, I find the winter cold weather denies me access to go on my nightly walks, because either the snow is either in the way or plainly too cold. Apart from these drawbacks, I have no problem with winter. Hope you keep this good mood you've acquired, and have a good day or night. Signed, Nathan. Thank you, Nathan. And thank you for that picture that I used in the last show. It was very pretty. As we all say, winter does have its benefits and its drawbacks. And as a fellow night walker, you know my plight. You can't walk at night during the winter. It's too cold. 22 degrees out. You can't walk in that really. You can bundle up, but it still might be unpleasant a bit. So I understand. This person says, "Hello, John. Have you thought about doing an ASMR video?" Oh, Jack. Well, theoretically speaking, every video can be an ASMR video if you make it that. That gets the nerves tingling and such. ASMR, by the way, doesn't have an effect on me. No effect whatsoever. But I get it. It does for others. Take VORW or the food reviews or whatever as your own little personal ASMR videos. And now concluding up the fan mail here with the emails. Of course, feel free to write to us via any of these emails or via YouTube. Emails go as follows: repweekinterview1@gmail.com. That's repweekinterview1, the number 1, @gmail.com. Or vorwinfo@gmail.com. That's vorwinfo@gmail.com. Dear Review Bro, first of all, I'd like to thank you for all your hard work. I've been watching your videos for about 2 years now, and seeing a new video of yours in my YouTube subscriptions always makes me happy. I'm actually not all that interested in your reviews per se, as I prefer cooking my food myself and getting my daily dose of caffeine from large quantities of tea, but I still keep coming back to you, or keep coming back for you as a person, it seems. Seeing you doing what you enjoy and staying true to yourself against all adversity you may face is inspiring and has helped me deal with a lot of personal struggles these past years. I'm glad to hear that you have been doing better recently. I know firsthand how rough dealing with depression can be at times, and I admire your stoicism. As for your question, winter is by far my least favorite season. Even though temperatures rarely drop below -15 degrees Celsius, I still find the cold incredibly uncomfortable. Far more than the summer heat. I might have some reptile blood in me, who knows. The constant darkness in winter also tends to bring my mood down quite a bit. I do enjoy the look of snow, though, but not enough to balance the more negative aspects of the season. In my ideal world, there would be 2 weeks of cold and snow around Christmas, and spring would follow up immediately after that. Sadly, reality does not work this way. I have been wondering, you mentioned in the past that you enjoy literature. Are there any books that you come back to and reread every now and again? Is there maybe a work of art that becomes more nuanced and complex every time you reread it? And do you have any comfort food books? Thank you again for everything that you do. Keep up the good work. Best wishes from Germany. Well, thank you for writing all the way from Germany. This person is writing. So, that would be nice, I'll say that. To be able to have, those 2 weeks of the cold and snow and the nice warm temperatures. That would be nice. It's cold outside, but it's supposed to warm up next week. Hopefully it'll stay that way now. The cold, it eventually just gets too much for me, Too much cold. Just want it to end. How I often feel. Just want it to end, this cold. But anyways, I always try to keep my books varied, and I know this sounds stupid. I understand that. Actually, first off, this isn't the thing that sounds stupid. I was reading about Kafka today. I was reading about his book, I believe 1915, Metamorphosis. But anyways, I know it sounds, silly, and I know it's not by one of the great writers of the 20th century, but even the Harry Potter series, would you believe this? I forgot what it's about. I read every book, and I watched every movie, yet I've forgotten what the Harry Potter series is even about. I don't know, it's about Harry Potter, and he's a wizard, and he's going to wizard school, That's about him and the misadventures of his friends, Ron and Hermione. And that's it. I couldn't gather any more details for you. That's as far as I know when it comes to that. You know, something I probably should reread right there. Okay, let's see what else we got here. This person said they already YouTube messaged. Okay, so then we'll move on. New fan. Hello, Report of the Week. I'm writing to you how I recently found your channel and I love it for several reasons. First off, the style. The video set up your fashion. It really sets you apart from other YouTubers. It looks natural, like something from the late 2000s. Love the suits and the ties, man. Second, your style of what you present or review. You show the product, the pros and cons, and the final verdict. Short, sweet, and straight to the point. And lastly, the videos themselves. To me, the foods and drinks that you review reflect the era in which they existed. If only someone made videos from the 90s and 2000s, they would hold an immense amount of nostalgia for people. That's why I love your channel, and I can't wait to see what's in store for us in 2016. Sincerely, your new fan. Well, thank you very much for writing. And, you know, I really do appreciate your opinion, how you say it differs from other YouTubers, and I actually like the presentation style. I know someone was saying the other day, they were telling me, first of all, I don't know why they watched the whole thing if they found this out, but they apparently only watched a 6-minute video of mine, and for you all who've gotten to this point in the VORW show, you should just take a minute to laugh at that, number one, for someone to consider a 6-minute video long when we've been sitting here for well over 2 hours now. And when a standard video of mine's around 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes or so. But they watched a whole 6-minute video. Ooh. And they said, thanks for wasting my time with the most boring food reviews I've ever seen. And I decided to be a little witty. I mean, number one, I was thinking to myself, well, why do you even watch the 6-minute video then? Is there something, something wrong? I didn't say that. I just said, I wish you'd watched one of my 10-minute reviews, so I could have wasted more of your precious time. But anyways, But some people actually do like the whole setup. Okay, what's this? No, that's not it. Not it. No. Here we go. Okay. Dear Mr. Bra, in response to the question from VORW 112, I would have to say that I really love the winter. I much prefer the cold to searing heat. I love the snow as well. Even just shoveling it is fun. Last year around this time was a blizzard here in Chicago. We're used to it, but I went outside and I felt like I was in a disaster film. The violent winds blowing, the high snow drifts, it was absolutely beautiful. Several weeks after, I was visiting my family in central Wisconsin, where I captured the attached photo of the snow coming down, if you care to show it. I also have a soft spot for fair-skinned women in sweaters, and winter in Chicago definitely has no shortage of them. On another note, I would appreciate if you would help spread some word about my volunteer group's upcoming event. It's called HOPE, HOPE 2016. We're gathering together a very large amount of supplies for homeless care around the streets of Chicago. We're meeting on March 12th in the city and need all the extra hands we can get. Provide a link to some more information. I'd appreciate you sharing it in the description for your listeners to check out and see further details for those who can help the less fortunate. My group has already been featured on the front page of the Chicago Tribune, which I'll also supply a link so listeners can know more about what we do. And he says events info site and the newspaper article. So these are linked below. Okay. These are linked below. You see them there. And if you're interested, if you're in Chicago or the surrounding area and you want to do something to help the community, you know, your chance to do it now. So it's there for your interest, and if you're interested in doing so, you can check the link and see what it's all about. I have another series of 3 questions for you, he also says. What type of pillow do you use to sleep? Just down feathers or some sort of memory foam support? Okay, let's get some water, but I'll talk while we're getting water. As you can see, I'm back upstairs. It's Saturday evening, so we're recording it as late as it gets. Anyways, I know it's all segmented up, but here's what it is. I use standard, I guess, down feather pillows, whatever it may be. I don't know if it's actually feathers in there. I've never looked. Definitely not memory foam, though. That's for sure. Not the memory foam ones. I've had slept on some contour pillows. You know, they're nice. My favorite kind, actually. The pillows that I've been using at the moment, for now, are not. Okay, ice. 1 ice cube and 2 ice cubes. Okay. Question 2. Let's see. I've been writing a story recently. It's just more set in a dystopian cyberpunk world of 2005. Most of the characters are cliches of 80s style cyberpunk movies, but there's some real world people that come along for the journey. That said, I've been looking for a radio communications character that is in the league of the protagonist's resistance. Would it be alright if I used your likeness for this character? You'll get a cool future name. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead. Be my guest. Be my guest. You can use me as a character. I don't have a problem with that at all. So, give it a go. If you're interested, hey, do it. And another spoken word lyrics request. I hope you're up to it, absolutely. Let's take a sip of water before we recite these lyrics verbally, non-singing. Or another night, another dream, but always you. It's like a vision of love that seems to be true. Another night, another dream, but always you. In the night I dream of love so true. Just another night, another vision of love. You feel joy, you feel pain, 'cause nothing will be the same. Just another night is all that it takes to understand the difference between lovers and fakes. So, baby, I talk to you. In the night, in your dream of love so true, I talk to you. In the night, in your dreams of love so true, in the night, in my dreams, I'm in love with you 'cause you talk to me like lovers do. I feel joy, I feel pain 'cause it's still the same. When the night is gone, I'll be alone. Thanks again for your time. Remember to keep on brickin'. Thank you. You keep on brickin' as well. I'll be doing a first look at your channel in the coming week, and I'm asking for your permission to use parts of your videos as a tool to emphasize the points I'll be making. Even though I'll be making it under fair use, I'd like to do the honorable thing and come to you before I publish anything. With best regards, Kat. Well, 7 days ago. We'll sit on that some more. It's already been 7 days. I said next week, so theoretically the person would have already made it by now. So, it's fair use anyways. I got the message. I'll let them do it. Good evening, John. Not sure which email to send this to, so I sent it to both. Happy 5-year anniversary. Here's to many more years from Josh. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh. Josh. On to the next. Hello, Report of the Week. Congratulations on 5 years to your YouTube channel. I enjoyed listening to the 5-year anniversary VORW broadcast on Shortwave, listening online. It was pretty neat. I look forward to any and all future content of yours. I've been going back listening to VORWs on your channel, and I'm just about to go through all of them now. And after listening to most all of them, I have a few questions regarding the things you've said. In one of the VORWs, I don't remember which, you said you received a t-shirt from your local Planet Wings, and it sounded like you said you wore it during a review. If you did, if so, did you delete the video or something? I couldn't find it searching your channel, and it's hard to imagine seeing you in a t-shirt, but if you do have a video, it would be cool to see. Yeah, it was an idea back in 2014 early, but I'd never actually initiated it. I still got it in my closet hanging there, but I've never worn it. I'm just not a t-shirt person. I could maybe wear a t-shirt like over a wing collar shirt with a tie, but that would look rather ridiculous, I figure. Another thing you mentioned in one of your VORWs was that you made some hotel review videos, but deleted them. Did you delete the actual videos, or did you delete them off your YouTube channel? And if so, would you consider re-uploading them? Now, they're still on my computer here. They're in my files, but gone from the channel. And the only reason I'm not going to upload them is for the courtesy of other people who appear in the videos who perhaps wouldn't want to be uploaded on the channel now, at this point. And lastly, in VORW 10, you made a short yet lively rant about your neighbor of yours who was being an idiot, and I have to say it was a pretty awesome rant. Now, I don't mean to say this in a mocking way, but just the way you went all out. Oh yeah, that was good stuff. It was a great rant, though. Not too long, excellent pacing, and right to the point. I like how chill and low-key your VORW shows usually are, but if you ever feel like ranting about something, go right ahead and do it. Makes for great listening every now and then. I have one more random question. If you could go on a one-way trip to Mars and live there for the rest of your life, would you? If not that, what about just a 1 or 2 year trip there and back again? Oh, it depends. I mean, if I could... Number one, I wouldn't go to Mars and die there, and unless I had nothing else left. Otherwise, maybe... If I could bring, other people or whatnot, maybe. Maybe 1 or 2 years, there and back again. Also, it has to be, confirmed that, when I get there, I'll be able to get back out. Not one of the little landing gears or the engines is going to break and hit a rock when I fall, when the ship lands, and then what, and you're screwed. So it's got to be, completely positive that it's going to be okay, that I'll make it out alive, and then I'll consider it. Might be another review coming up for Octane Java Super Caffeinated Coffee, by the way. Request for them. We'll see. And, lastly, hello, review bro. I hope you're having a good day. I'm going to be responding to stuff in VORW 111 and 112, since I meant to email and just completely forgot. For the chicken question, I think a chain-ish place that has really good chicken would be East Coast Wings. They're a chain that's around my area and have plenty of flavors to make their chicken pretty good. For my thoughts on winter, I happen to find it my favorite time of year. I find it rather relaxing, no lawn mowing, no worrying about my computer getting too hot, no real presence of bugs, and my allergies die off with most of the plants. I like the occasional snow, but now I can drive and have a job. It's no fun to have to drive in, but overall, it's a good time for me. I like the one email where you stated you were from North Carolina, and your action made me laugh. As a North Carolina native, I'd be a bit surprised if you were from North Carolina, never experienced Bojangles and Cookout till recently. One question for you. Since I know you were big into shortwave radio, you've got me interested in trying it out. I know nothing about it besides what I heard from you. Where would I start? What should I get? If you've answered the question before, please let me know where to find the answer. Sorry for the lengthy email, and thanks for reading. Well, thank you for writing. And here's what I recommend for now. Okay, you gotta, and maybe you got something from the I know you're the very last person I'm replying to, so hopefully you stuck it out and you're still here. But if you heard me earlier talking about the WebSDR, right, there's a VORW back in the day where I talk about the WebSDR, what it is exactly, and how to use it. And you can find it. It's one of the early VORWs. I recommend watching that. Because start out with a WebSDR receiver. It's an online shortwave radio. Okay. Online shortwave radio. Free of charge to use, and you're able to listen to shortwave using that free. As long as you please. I recommend that. Starting out with that. Get to know it, get to play around with it. You're going to be confused perhaps at first. Just play around with it. Use the chat. Talk to the people in the chat. There'll be some a-holes there, but there's a-holes everywhere, so ignore it. People will help you out. And you'll get the hang of it eventually. Just immerse yourself. Be confused. Have questions, because they'll be answered. And sometimes the best way to learn something is through your own personal experience. You know, have to scratch your head and say, what's that? And then to be able to have that, oh, so that's what it is, moment. And just go in there, play around with it for however long you want, 15 minutes or 5 hours at a time, doesn't matter. And just immerse yourself. And that's what I have to say. And that's all we have. This concludes our VORW broadcast. Again, the question for this program is as follows. Folks, here goes. If, right? Actually, not if. More like, how often would you say you wear formal type clothing, right? At what frequency do you wear it? Just to kind of gauge how well-dressed the audience is. Please write in with your response and any questions which you have, of course, to YouTube, youtube.com/user/report of the week. Click on the About tab, send a message, type the contents of your message, and click send to get it to the YouTube inbox, where it will be replied to in the next VORW broadcast. And after that, if you would prefer to use email, repweekinterview1@gmail.com. That's repweekinterview1@gmail.com. Or to see the full email address typed out, click View Business Email on the About tab in the YouTube channel. Enter the CAPTCHA, and after that, get the email from there. Also, VORWinfo@gmail.com. That's VORWinfo@gmail.com. VORWinfo@gmail.com. No fan art for this program, folks, but please, it is greatly appreciated, and I really would like to see some for next program. If you want to make some, great to see. Always great to show off something from, you guys made and could present. Anyone wants to do it? Anything is acceptable. Won't show anything. Decent, at least. By decent, I mean family-friendly. Can't be anything of any sort of vulgarity or lewdness. And that's what we got for you. And any questions of your own are so gratefully appreciated. Thank you again for listening. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Hope you have a great Sunday, a great week ahead of you. And that's all we got. Thank you again. Hope you enjoyed the program. We'll catch you next week on VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Take care, everyone, and we will see you later. Goodbye. This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing off.